The top layer of the Earth's surface is soil, which is largely made up of weathered rock. It's made up of minerals, humus, decomposed organic debris, and helpful living things like worms in various proportions. The smallest rock particles in soil make sticky clay, the medium particles silt, and the coarsest particles form sand. Soil sustains flora and provides a habitat for a range of creatures when there is enough moisture.
The majority of us work for 1,800 hours a year on average, and we will work for about 40 years before retiring. When you consider how much time you spend at work, you quickly realize how vital it is to feel accomplished at the end of the day, rather than merely fulfilling financial goals.
Telecommunication is now widely available, and technologies that aid development are popular in many parts of the globe. These devices are also connected by a variety of networks, including computer, telephone, and cable networks. One of many examples of telecommunication is computer communication through the Internet, such as email and instant messaging.
While blue is a popular hue, it is also one of the most unappealing. Blue foods are uncommon in nature. According to food scientists, people learnt to avoid hazardous or damaged things, which were commonly blue, black, or purple, when looking for food. When study participants are fed blue-colored food, they lose their appetite.
Of course, Australians communicate in English. However, many tourists and even some locals associate Australian English only tangentially with native tongue. Only the initiate understands the arcane meanings of the words and phrases we use in our discourse. Australian slang is to genuinely explain these colorful colloquialisms.
Tidal energy, also known as tidal power, is a renewable energy source and a type of hydropower that uses the energy of the tides to generate electricity. Despite the fact that it is not currently widely used due to high costs and limited availability, given the current rate of depletion of energy resources, it can be referred to as the energy resource of the future.
The number of bankruptcies skyrocketed in the third quarter. The number of bankruptcies skyrocketed in the third quarter.
Contemporary critics dismissed his idea as eccentric. Contemporary critics dismissed his idea as eccentric.
If you forget your passport, you need to contact the Student Center. If you forget your passport, you need to contact the Student Center.
Don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions.
Ideally, free trade is beneficial to both trading partners. Ideally, free trade is beneficial to both trading partners.
Number the beakers and put them away. Number the beakers and put them away.
Emails quick and convenient. Emails quick and convenient. Several students raised different examples. Several students raised different examples.
You can retake the module if your marks are too low. You can retake the module if your marks are too low.
Anatomy is the study of internal and external body structures. Anatomy is the study of internal and external body structures.
I'm glad you got here safely. I'm glad you got here safely.
The graph below illustrates how an apple seed can grow into an apple tree. It demonstrates how the procedure is carried out. Apple seed, a miniature apple tree, and the tree's blossom are among the steps. The apple seed is the initial phase, according to this diagram. The second step, according to this graph, is to grow into a tiny apple tree. The blossoming of the tree is the third step, as you can see from this graph. Small apples will emerge from the flowers as the final step. Finally, the apple tree provides us with red and large apples. In the end, the procedure will be repeated.
The population density of Australia is depicted in the graph below. On the map, data from various places is displayed based on statistical local area boundaries, with 1 equaling 1,000 persons. The most densely inhabited cities, according to this graph, are Sydney, Canberra, and Melbourne on Australia's southeast coast, followed by Brisbane in eastern Australia, Adelaide in southern Australia, Hobart in Tasmania, Perth in Western Australia, and Darwin in northern Australia. The enormous outback in the center of the continent, on the other hand, is the most sparsely populated territory on the continent. Finally, the southeast coast has the most densely populated areas.
The diagram shows how to make a bird feeder out of a plastic bottle. The image makes it evident that there is a water bottle on the first stage, along with 2 pencils that are brown and blue, respectively, and the bottle is filled with food. Then, on the second level, 2 wooden spoons are used in place of the 2 pencils. In conclusion, we can observe that the small bird perched on the spoon can eat from the bottle and that the white and blue bottle caps on 2 different bottles are of various hues.
The Iron Age dwelling is described in the following graph. This is a cross-section of a triangular-shaped ancient hut, according to the graph. You can see a pillar holding the sloping rafters in the center of the graph. Additionally, reed thatch covers the roofs. Ashen benches are visible in the hut below the surface. The grass wall may be seen from the ground level. This graph is really informative. To sum it up,
Absolutely, the library. We've all visited a revered library. Everybody has savored the aroma of a vintage library. What is it then? What does that signify, then? We at the UCL Center for Sustainable Heritage were recently invited to evaluate the environment at the Wren Library, a magnificent ancient library located inside St. Paul's Cathedral. And the scent of ancient books is so overpowering. We were also asked, for the first time, I was truly surprised by the request, what we could do to maintain the smell. For our readership, it is really significant. The way that people view the library is crucial. Therefore, that was a really significant message from our research. Indeed, smell plays a significant role in how we interact with our surroundings. Because advertisers are so interested in how we connect with one another and our environment, an advertising business conducted this investigation. And while it is obvious that the bulk of individuals engage with their surroundings primarily through sight, smell is also evidently a very, very essential sense.
Both internal and external influences have an impact on decisive human conduct. The speaker indicated that psychologists are interested in describing human behavior near the end of the talk. Two factors, the internal, personal factors, and the external, environmental factors, have an impact on the determinant. Personal aspects include people's opinions and beliefs, whereas environmental elements include things like air pressure, temperature, and other people's perceptions of them. In conclusion, both the individual and the environment have an impact on a person's determinants.
What kind of drugs are used for killing bacteria? What kind of drugs are used for killing bacteria?
What is the ceremony called for marriage? What is the ceremony called for marriage?
What is 1/2 of 100%? What is 1/2 of 100%?
What is the barrier that can prevent floods from damaging our home? What is the barrier that can prevent floods from damaging our home?
What gas will be generated from the boiling water? What gas will be generated from the boiling water?
Canada is a country of the enormous natural resources. It is the world's largest exporter of forest products and the top exporter of fish, furs, and wheat. Minerals have played a key role in Canada's transformation into an urban industrial economy. Alberta, British Columbia, Quebec, and Saskatchewan are the principal mining regions. Ontario and the Northwest, NWT, and Yukon territories are also significant producer of uranium and potash, the third largest of asbestos, gypsum, and nickel, and the fourth largest of zinc. Oil and gas are exploited in Alberta, off the Atlantic coast, and in the Northwest. Huge additional reserves are thought to exist in the high Arctic. Oil price is making extraction profitable at a growing number of the country's deposit. Canada is also one of the world's top hydroelectricity producers.
The newspaper industry in several states of America has shrunk dramatically over the last 50 years of the 20th century as a result of the economic model. Newspapers also improved their cash flow as the economic paradigm altered. However, several newspaper sectors are still losing money as a result of lower advertising and readership. They are unable to locate buyers. Only a small percentage of newspapers have a positive cash flow. Over 100 publications with negative cash flow were unable to publish their newspapers on a daily basis. Some of them put out content 3 times a week. Smaller newspapers could only print once a week and were forced to go online. Some newspapers have even vanished. The number of people employed in the newspaper sector has plummeted by 30 to 60% or more.
We all know water is good for us and that we should probably drink more of it. So why, then, do Americans find it so difficult to sip from what is arguably the fountain of youth? Answers vary, but the fact is, 1 in 10 Americans drinks 0 cups of water per day, according to a study by Dr. Allison Goodman, a medical epidemiologist for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 0. She suspects that those who don't drink any water or very little are getting it from other sources such as food and coffee, but warns this may not be enough.
For many wine lovers, the arrival of Beaujolais Nouveau on November 16, or Beaujolais Nouveau Day, has become a festive addition to celebrations during the holiday season. The Beaujolais Nouveau heritage began with the wine growers themselves, who toasted the end of the harvest and their hard work with a sampling of wine they had just produced. Take a look to learn how Les Vins Georges Duboeuf has helped extend this regional tradition to wine drinkers around the world through the commemoration of Beaujolais Nouveau Day.
Dave Hackenberg, a beekeeper since 1962, can usually tell what killed his bees just by looking at them. If they're lying on the ground in front of a hive, it's probably pesticides, he says. If the bees are deformed and wingless, it's probably vampire mites. But last fall, Hackenberg saw something he had never seen before. Thousands of his bee colonies simply disappeared. He was in Florida at the time, pulling the lids off some of his commercial hives. To his horror, they were all empty.
And one particular crop, almond in the US and now in Australia, is transforming the world of beekeeping and of bees. What has happened is that something serendipitous came along, that people found out, that doctors found out that almonds are good for you, a confection, but it's good for you. The Almond Board got a very aggressive promotion going on for almonds. They actually, I just heard recently, send out sales reps to cardiologists at hospitals to promote the heart benefits of almonds. In a very good promotion of almonds, and it's legitimate promotion because they are a healthy food.
Along the way, we have built unashamedly beautiful buildings, two of which have won and been runner-up in the prestigious United Nations World Habitat Award, the first time an Australian building has received that international honor. We rely on older concepts of Australian architecture that are heavily influenced by the bush. All residents have private verandas which allow them to socialize outdoors and also create some defensible space between their bedrooms and public areas. We use a lot of natural or soft materials and build beautiful landscaped gardens.
Cigarette smoking is on the decline in the United States for a number of reasons, including laws banning smoking in many workplaces and in public spaces and at least partial restrictions in other areas. However, the moist tobacco market is on the rise and has increased by nearly 7% from 2011 to 2014, according to a Euromonitor International report. As a result, many companies are developing products and accessories to serve this expanding market, and they are realizing that some of the prevailing myths about tobacco users don't hold up. With this changing landscape of tobacco use, comes an opportunity to dispel several of these myths. Myth number 1: tobacco users are messy. Myth number 2: tobacco users are inconsiderate. Myth number 3: tobacco users are uncultured.
When joining a new company, there are often perks to consider: a company car, maybe a 401k plan. With millennials now making up the lion's share of the workforce, a number of companies are betting that helping to pay off student debt is the next game changer when it comes to attracting and retaining the best and the brightest. It's not a bad wager. Total education debt stood at a staggering $1.52 trillion at the end of March. And while the perk is by no means reserved only for millennials, it's not lost on anyone that the average student loan borrower will have graduated this year saddled with more than $37,000 in debt. One of the companies touting the new benefit is the same one, Fidelity Investments, that already handles millions of workers' 401k plans. Businesses enrolled in its student debt employer contribution program are able to make after-tax contributions to their employees' outstanding student loans, setting their own parameters as to who and how much with the help of a modeling tool for estimating their potential recruitment and retention cost savings.
Contemporary style and design are everywhere and can be a foundation for many new homes built today. But what exactly does that mean? Contemporary style is really about reducing things to their essence and having really clean lines and uncluttered spaces, says Alan Pickett, Pella Corporation's resident architect. Current contemporary design offers a softer take on modern. It has the same simple, clean lines, but with decoration that is naturally minimalistic. Light, color, and fabrics all play a part in gaining a contemporary look for your home. Today's contemporary style dwellings will have asymmetrical shapes, windows with minimal trim in a contrasting or dark color, and a lot of glass and other textures.
Whether for escape, enlightenment, or pure joy, books allow us to connect to other places and times. Fortunately for the millions of Americans who have impaired vision or a physical disability, there are Braille and taking books from NLS. NLS is the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, part of the Library of Congress. Established in 1931, the organization's mission is to enrich the lives of its patrons by offering them books, magazines, music scores, and other materials in audio and Braille at no charge. Unlike traditional audiobooks that are provided at public libraries or sold at retail bookstores, audiobooks offered by NLS are unabridged, extensive and diverse, and designed specifically for people who are unable to read regular print.
So we always had an attention economy. Whether it was on radio or television, there's always been a race for our attention, and it's a zero-sum game. If one TV station gets more of your attention, the other TV station gets less. But now, because we're spending more and more time on screens and there's so many things competing for our attention, we really feel it. And on the attention economy, with social media and with the internet and our screens, everything needs your underscore.
Making a resolution to improve your finances puts you several steps closer along the road to a better bottom line, based on data from Fidelity Investments' 8th Annual New York Financial Resolution Study. Looking for a resolution that will pay off and pay dividends? Simply resolving to pay more attention to your finances improves the chances that your financial health will underscore.
This simulation shows what you might see if you are orbiting a black hole. The light and position of background stars around the hole are distorted by its gravity, and they seem to spin around. On the right, the constellation Orion appears to approach the event horizon, the boundary from which nothing can escape. Orion stars look like they become separated and get spun around. Once the hole has passed by, Orion reappears on the left and looks normal again. Users can also experiment with different scenarios. This is what you might see if you were traveling towards a black hole with rocket engines slowing your descent. Another simulation mimics free fall into a hole. In the middle, the light of the entire universe appears to be concentrated in a bright ring. This simulation shows what you might see if you are orbiting a black hole. The light and position of background stars around the hole are distorted by its gravity, and they seem to spin around. On the right, the constellation Orion appears to approach the event horizon, the boundary from which nothing can escape. Orion stars look like they become separated and get spun around. Once the hole has passed by, Orion reappears on the left and looks normal again. Users can also experiment with different scenarios. This is what you might see if you were traveling towards a black hole with rocket engines slowing your descent. Another simulation mimics free fall into a hole. In the middle, the light of the entire universe appears to be concentrated in a bright ring.
Amory Lovins is an American consultant experimental physicist, and he has been active at the nexus of energy, resources, economy, environment, development and security in more than 50 countries for over 40 years. He pays attention on energy saving and how to use energy in a more efficient and sustainable ways. He built a house with plenty of energy-saving concepts. He's an unusual character with a wide range of knowledge and a genius, but he's not a scientist. He has a consulting company and lives in a house that is built on the mountains. For 30 years, he used a lot of ways to save energy and solved problems with technologies that already existed and demonstrated them. Some people think he is so crazy. A female writer wrote a book about him which is called Mr. Green. Amory Lovins is an American consultant experimental physicist, and he has been active at the nexus of energy, resources, economy, environment, development and security in more than 50 countries for over 40 years. He pays attention on energy saving and how to use energy in a more efficient and sustainable ways. He built a house with plenty of energy-saving concepts. He's an unusual character with a wide range of knowledge and a genius, but he's not a scientist. He has a consulting company and lives in a house that is built on the mountains. For 30 years, he used a lot of ways to save energy and solved problems with technologies that already existed and demonstrated them. Some people think he is so crazy. A female writer wrote a book about him which is called Mr. Green.
Students requiring an extension should apply sooner rather than later. Students requiring an extension should apply sooner rather than later.
Remember to bring calculators to class next week. Remember to bring calculators to class next week.
Economic problems caused a big rise in unemployment. Economic problems caused a big rise in unemployment.
There is a clear need for further research in this field. There is a clear need for further research in this field.
If you like our video, kindly subscribe our channel and also press below bell icon. Thank you.